Seattle, Washington, and Next Gen Network's coverage of the West Coast Cup. We've got some action here today between the Buzz Bullets from Japan and San Francisco's Revolver. My name is Kyle Weisbrod, here with Mario O'Brien. How's it going today, Mario?
Pretty good. It's a beautiful day here in Seattle. Really excited to be back in the booth with you again, Kyle.
Well, and I'm really excited about these games that we've got for you this weekend. Some really high-level top teams from not just around the country, but the world here with Buzz Bullets.
Yeah, the Buzz Bullets notoriously have come to a tournament on the West Coast for the past few years. Normally it's ECC, but without an ECC this year, the nice people at Next Gen put together this tournament, and the Buzz Bullets were happy to come.
Well, Revolver receives the pull in red to start the game. Comes out with a side stack. Immediately going deep. And a goal for Josh Wiseman, reeling it in.
Doesn't get much easier than that for Revolver. You're going to see Ashlyn Joy coming out of the stack as a primary cutter, and that's because he's one of their best handlers. They want the disc in his hands as much as possible. Ashlyn coming off a gold medal in the World Games, delivering in his first shot.
So, Mario, you've been playing Revolver for years. You've also played a bunch of these guys when they were on the Dogfish. Tell us a little about this team and what we expect to see from them.
Well, you're going to see one of the most physically fit teams in Ultimate, and it's important to point that out because it gives them even more separation against the Buzz Bullets. Not only are they fast, they're also tall, they're also strong, so they definitely have a physical advantage. Also, they're very technically sound, especially at breaking the mark. Revolver really is great at hitting those tight inside breaks, and if you adjust on those, they'll hit you with the arounds. And you cannot talk about Revolver without talking about Bo Kittredge. One of the best players now we're talking about of all time. I think we can start talking about Bo like that. He's been getting more involved over the past years as his skills have developed, as his throwing set has developed. He gets more involved not only in the middle of the field, coming under, going deep, but in their end zone set. He's one of their primary handlers now.
And this Revolver squad facing a lot of turnover from last year. Mainstays like Robbie Cahill, Bart Watson, who've been doing a lot on their offensive line, departing Cahill out of the game currently, and Bart Watson now with Johnny Bravo out of Boulder. And Bo, though, is kind of the consistent, stable offensive player for them, and he has been doing a lot for them, especially at the U.S. Open. We saw that. Sam Canner here with a big pull for Revolver. Hangs up for a long time. Buzz Bullets in a horizontal offense with one reset back. Buzz Bullets taking a shot deep. Hanging. A little wind gets under that, and the Buzz Bullet receiver, that's Kichiro Shiba, able to come down with it on the goal line. Shiba, one of the Buzz Bullets World Games members.
Did a nice job boxing out. You're going to see him actually slow down, let the defender run into him. The disc sails over his head, and then he re-accelerates and takes care of that one. Hard to tell if he was in. Pretty junky end zone set here from the Buzz Bullets. Everyone in the same third of the field.
Kijikawa with the disc. And here's a shot from Matsuno to Tanaka. Katsunori Tanaka tying the game here at 1-1.
And that's the name when you talk about Buzz Bullets. You can talk about the style of their play, but their all-star is Matsuno. He's deadly with his speed, but he's also left-handed, and he's got all the throws here. He puts a nice one out to space. Matsuno is the rock. As Bo is the rock for Revolver, Matsuno is the rock for the Buzz Bullets.
And what you'll see, too, on that throw, you saw a lot of nice little OI edge, a little blade movement, and that's one of the things that these Japanese Buzz Bullets are known for. A lot of edge on their throws and really precise shots.
Yeah, I was actually a bit surprised when that hook went up. Last night, Sockeye scrimmaged the Buzz Bullets, and upon reflecting on the game, they didn't make any throws that were really greater than 35 to 40 yards. So even their hucks are more of those mid-range hucks with that edge on it that don't get a lot of hang time. So that first point, it was a bit of an uncharacteristic huck maybe, or maybe that was part of their strategy. I guess we don't know, but we'll see how that evolves this game.
So Buzz Bullets for Ozawa with the pull, putting Revolver about 4 yards deep in their end zone. This time Revolver not able to run their pull play right away. Here's a bid. Revolver working the unders. And a shot to Kittredge deep. Very easy for Bo to reel in. Rasmussen with the assist.
So there's Bo, isolated deep. Defender nowhere in the area, so 2 flawless points here for Revolver. A little bit windy here today, Kyle, and that's something that we didn't see last night. It's affected both of the pulls going that direction, and we saw that float on that Buzz Bullets huck. We'll see if that plays in either team's favor. I wouldn't be surprised if it played a bit in the Buzz Bullets' favor. Last night, we saw some really junky sets from the Buzz Bullets, and that's actually something that you've seen from them if you've been paying attention over the last year. I'm talking about the World Games where they played sort of just a really poachy, junky set downfield, really almost not even setting much of a mark for the first half of the field in order to minimize those huck looks from the American teams that they were playing against at the World Games. And the same thing actually was happening at the Dream Cup, where we saw in the finals the Buzz Bullets matched up against an American All-Star team, really not even trying to mark in that first half of the field, placing their bets on getting a block in that second half.
Well, Japan comes into these games with a bit of a height disadvantage. There's not a single player on this Buzz Bullets roster who's taller than 6 feet. So minimizing those 70-yard plays, those big shots. Here's another one from Japan going deep, Buzz Bullets. Caught right on the line. That's Kemimura. And Kemimura up to Matsuno for the goal. Both teams seeming to feel each other out here in the early points of this game. So Japan comes in kind of with this height disadvantage. So trying to slow down those big early looks from the offense is a really big part of Japan's D, and then clamping down when the offense gets to the second half of the field.
Height-wise, they might be at a disadvantage, but these guys are as quick as anyone on Revolver in terms of lateral movement, in terms of reaction speed. They can all hang.
So Matsuno involved again as the Buzz Bullets tied up 2-2. The Buzz Bullets carrying 4 players on their roster who were on the World Games team. Out of 7 males on the Japan World Games team, 4 of them are here playing for the Buzz Bullets. Matsuno we mentioned, for Ozawa we mentioned, Kichiro Shiba and Mizuha Tanaka.
And then for Revolver, of course, we've got Kittredge and Joy and Mac Taylor, who were all on the World Games team, as well as Russell Wynn, who made the practice squad for the U.S. team. So here's that junk look from the Buzz Bullets. As you can see, no one near the mark. They're just really trying to take away all downfield options.
It's a very loose cup. Revolver being very patient here. Foul called on the mark. This is going to stay. Japan now transitioning to a man defense, clamping down. And an easy shot for Revolver. Up to Joel Schlachett for the goal.
Nice patience there by Revolver. Playing against this type of defense, it's really easy to get impatient because it's almost uncomfortable to not have a mark on you sometimes. That time Revolver did a nice job just really scanning, surveying the field, taking the open shot. Joy really opened up the field with that slicing forehand for a gainer, and that's when we saw the Buzz Bullets transition into their man.
So that transition didn't look so great for the Buzz Bullets. They let Schlachett get open in the end zone. Wiseman able to find him and hit him. I did notice, though, the handler defense on that transition looked really solid. If that first look hadn't gone up, Revolver may have found themselves in trouble, trapped on the line at a higher stall count. So both teams trading here. No turnovers yet. Revolver up 3-2 over the Buzz Bullets.
Taking a look at this Revolver D-line, a lot of familiar faces out there. Mac Taylor, Sam Canner, Marty Cochran. But one of the players that they don't have from last year, a defensive standout, and one of the sort of the key builders of this Revolver team is Mark Sherwood. He's not playing this year, along with Cahill. But it's so impressive to see what this Revolver team is able to do in terms of not just rebuilding, but really reloading and bringing in players that seem to fit the mold of what Revolver is all about.
So Revolver coming out with a forced backhand here. Foul called. Matsuno with the disc marked by Kuoka.
Matsuno's got a really interesting technique. He really holds his forehand out really far, which then allows him to quickly get over to his lefty backhand, which makes him really effective at breaking the mark. And
one thing observers of the World Games would notice, too, is he does tend to travel a lot on his throws, on his pivots. Pretty common. Some of it's the lefty illusion of traveling, and some of it's actual traveling.
A lot of it's actual traveling, I would say. We'll keep an eye on it. It was actually really interesting this year playing in the MLU. I played with the Rainmakers, and that was one thing that just got eliminated from everyone's game, was that little rhythm step travel that a lot of us seemed to be doing.
So Furuzawa with the disc, forced backhand. A little bobble. And a block there.
Bayless did a really nice job locking down, and now he might get rewarded in the end zone. Cochran shooting one to him.
Bayless tracks it down with the sliding catch and the break for Revolver. First break of the game, up 4-2.
Yeah, great defensive point all around there from Revolver. Got the offense in a tough position. Bayless did a great job not looking while the Buzz Bullets handler was cutting. Had some good communication from the sideline. He heard the up call, turned, got his hand in the way, nice block, and then sprints 70 yards. Marty didn't leave him an easy one, but highlight.
So Revolver up 4-2. You were mentioning the travel calls in MLU. How'd you feel about those the active travel calls?
You know, I liked that element of the active calling by the observers. One, I really just realized that, you know, you have an advantage. You know, it's such a loose call sometimes at the elite level, but truly, with the amount of focus that you have to put in to not travel, it really made me realize that, you know, it really is an advantage. Even if you're not gaining space or maybe, you know, gaining yards, you really do have to be a lot more balanced in order to maintain your pivot foot. So that was one element that I really did like about it, because it just got rid of something that, you know, that everyone has been sort of cheating on.
Well, it's also one of those rules that's pretty inconsistently applied across teams. Some teams will call it more than others, and then even within games, right? You get in those late games and it gets tight and it's a big game. All of a sudden you get more travel calls, and that can slow the game down and make it frustrating.
I loved the consistency of having that call happen. There we can see it. That one, we had a lot of foot movement on that one. Here's Matsuno.
Inside break. Now back outside. And this time back to Matsuno for the goal. Nice movement there from the Japanese offense against that forced forehand from Revolver.
And the play that really opened it up, it was early in the point, was on this forced backhand. If you can get an inside break to that slashing cut going horizontally towards the break side, the receiver can catch it with momentum and immediately turn and look to throw that forehand. And that's what gave them a big chunk of their yards. And the Buzz Bullets are really effective with those tight little inside breaks. you can actually watch them before the game. A lot of times they run that little box drill, and you can tell that they really focus on the timing of those passes into those tight windows. They're tough passes unless you practice them a lot, and Buzz Bullets do it really well.
And not only that, but then the timing of that continue pass right after. They've always got that look right open so they don't get contained by the mark. They have an immediate continue break, and that's what busts that open for the Buzz Bullets.
Kyle, I know you talked to Mike Payne, coach for Revolver, a little bit before the game. They said that was one thing that they were going to try to take away was the inside breaks.
Yeah, Mike Payne before the game was talking about taking away the inside breaks and slowing that part of their offense down, forcing them to go a little more with the around. One of the things that's challenging with that, though, is that, well, because they've got such an effective lefty handler in Matsuno, you've always got one of those, a backhand on one side or the other there. And those backhand breaks are a lot easier, I think, than the forehand breaks generally. So Japan comes down in a man-to-man defense, switching in the backfield a little bit, looking to pick up and help. High stall count bailout.
Ashlyn Joy cutting the rug in the backfield, not how he usually cuts.
Rasmus on the line with a hammer over the top. Jordan Jeffrey. The downfield pressure from the Buzz Bullets here is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really, really tight everywhere on the field and even pretty physical downfield.
Another high stall count, around break.
You can see those tight physical marks as well from the Buzz Bullets.
Rasmussen again, interesting, leaving a poacher at the reset area for the Buzz Bullets. Evan Boucher. Boucher around for the goal. That's Ashlyn Joy. And Revolver up 5-3. Boucher, that was a nice little break from Boucher. You mentioned Boucher's doing a lot for them, having a breakout year for Revolver.
Yeah, Evan Boucher is one of the guys who really benefited from the MLU season that hasn't even existed in the past. A lot of those Dogfish players from San Francisco, a lot of them were former Revolver players, but a lot of them were maybe played on mixed teams. A lot of them maybe have been on that second team, Boost Mobile, and Boucher was someone who maybe was not on anyone's radar before this year, but we played against him a couple times in San Francisco, and he really tore us up. He's really just got a great all-around game. He's a little bit sneaky. He's not that tall. Doesn't look to intimidate you with size, but he's just a really solid player all around. Really good at throwing those low release around breaks.
So breaking his way into the big leagues through the MLU to this Revolver squad. Mari, did you experience that? Was that something that happened with the Rainmakers as well? A lot of guys from the Rainmakers moving over to Sockeye?
Big time. Not only were there guys, a lot of the Sockeye players who ended up playing Rainmakers, but same thing, similar to how Boucher was able to shine in the MLU and maybe earned his spot here on Revolver. Same thing with us. We had some really, really big pickups who might not have ever had a chance to get the reps at a high level had the MLU not existed. And I can tell you what, those players are really going to be assets for the current Sockeye team.
So Buzzbolt's trouble picking this disc up after the pull.
Stack looks pretty deep here.
It's an interesting stack. It's not a straight vertical stack, but it's certainly not horizontal. And a little trouble with the reset, generating the turnover. Mac Taylor, foul called. So short field with Revolver.
Taylor really trying to sit on that forehand.
Cuoca out wide. Canner around to Taylor. And Taylor shot to the end zone a little outside. Jordan Marcy unable to come down with that. So Revolver with their first turnover of the game. Buzzbolts getting it back. Here's another look at it. This is weird. It looked like that the BuzzBolts defender had a shot at that, and I think that may have slowed Marcy down. I think that he didn't go full speed because he thought he was going to be playing the rebound or not have a shot at it at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting throw choice there from Taylor. It really tried to zip one in there, and that's a tough angle to do that, especially with a horizontal cutter.
Matsuno bobbles it but comes down with it. BuzzBolt setting out of the horizontal. Nice cut across.
There, that's the look we're talking about. That inside backhand break gets them going up the other side.
Kichikawa now driving the offense. Lots of really quick movement. And Kichikawa with the assist.
That one just looked like handler offense the entire way down the field. A short little inside breaks, give and goes, and they went a couple times across the field laterally. First it was with the breaks going up to the forehand side or the break side, and then it was just throw and go, little dishes all the way up the other side.
Yeah, it almost seemed like once they crossed midfield, they never even looked to their downfield players. All handler movement. At first, a lot of Matsuno giving and going, and then once Kichikawa could get in there, Kichikawa took off and took over. Goal to Tanaka, Katsunari Tanaka, and 5-4, Revolver with the lead.
One thing I find interesting and really impressive about the BuzzBullets is their ability to play a style that's completely their own. I really feel like, in the United States, we all try to, take the things that maybe the best teams are doing, or maybe just the things that our coach has experience doing. We try to play that one style, and a lot of times it seems to be the same. But the BuzzBullets really have a style and a skill set that's all their own.
Well, to play with these top teams with no 6 foot tall players, you've got to have something that differentiates you. And here's Bo Kittredge with the disc. And Kittredge with a shot deep.
Beautiful throw here by Kittredge. No defender, but nice job keeping it flat, throwing to space.
And the vision too, to see Jordan Jeffrey cutting from that opposite third of the field. Great vision from Kittredge, and just lays out the space, makes it super easy.
But like you said, Kyle, for those other international teams that might be watching, I really encourage all those teams to really think about, what do your players in your country or in your community, what do you do well? Because I feel like everyone's always shooting for the American teams, and of course you would be, because after all the gold medals that the United States won recently at all those world competitions. But I really think that teams are going to be coming short time and again if they continue to just try to mimic everything that the Americans do, because it's a totally different ball game. I mean, you're talking about athletes that have been generally playing sports since they were little, and most of them didn't play Ultimate when they were younger, and that's not necessarily the case internationally. And if you have been playing sports, it might be just one sport, or it might be just soccer, or not the type of sports that we have here in the States. And I just think it's a totally different approach if you want to try to beat the Americans, unless you have the exact same type of athletes, which most teams don't.
So BuzzBolt's coming out with the side stack. Shiba went deep off of the pull play. BuzzBolts didn't hit him. Now they're working across the field out of a horizontal.
Forced forehand here from Revolver, changing it up. It's been forced backhand most of the game. Let's switch back to backhand there for a second.
It seems like a lot of switching on the mark. Maybe they're just jumping around and being aggressive, not letting Japan settle into a mark or straight up. And here's a shot.
Ooh.
Kind of a fade look for the end zone. That's number 11, Tetsuya Kamimura with the goal. Kichikawa with another assist.
Might have got a bit lucky there. Defender just didn't have his head turned at the right moment, sort of snuck it in there As you can see, defender just a bit late, turning his head.
You're talking about different international styles of play. Watching the World Games, one of the teams that I really loved watching was Colombia. I think that what comes out in their style of play is a lot of creativity and a lot of really great space creation too. Particularly, they have a really strong set of women in the country, and their men did a really good job of opening up the field so that those women could utilize their one-on-one matchups.
Yeah, I think Colombia is a perfect example of a country who, is taking what they do well and using that to raise them to the highest level. Even I would go so far as to say is they have like a really awesome approach to how they treat spirit of the game or their own spirit in their team. I remember watching the Junior Worlds last year, and it was just fun to watch. They're always singing, they're always dancing, they're always, just giving their best at whatever they're doing, whether it's on the field or off. It's really impressive.
So Buzzbolts again comes down with that junky-looking zone. Known as the amoeba zone in the international community. Really loose zone, sometimes with a mark, sometimes without a mark. A lot of transitions between that middle layer of defenders and the deep layer of defenders.
I really like watching the Buzzbolts communicate. You see a lot of pointing, a lot of yelling, a lot of just talking about where the disc is or what you're doing or where you're trying to force defenders. This is exactly what you're looking for if you're the Buzzbolts. You're trying to make Revolver throw a lot of passes, feel relaxed a little bit, and then maybe try to float one over the top. Just like that, Matsuno not quite able to make the play.
So Marcelo Sanchez comes down with the hammer. And now Buzzbolts transitions. There's a slower transition than we saw before. Revolver about 10 yards out. Throw behind Ashlyn Joy. Joy on the goal line with the throw for the goal. Excuse me.
Ashlyn Joy to Andrew Hagan.
Andrew Hagan with the goal.
Revolver staying in the lead, 2 breaks, 7-5.
So Revolver back on the board again, up 7-5.
They really got to take that one as a positive for the Buzzbolts. A lot of times as a defensive unit, you want to tell yourself, or you want to try to create at least one play that you can make a bid on during a point. That time they had their shot. Matsuno not quite able to get to that hammer, but a really good defensive point there from the Buzzbolts. Unfortunately, Matsuno missed it, and then Revolver sort of rolled into the end zone after that.
The transition for Buzzbolts looked a little more conservative than their first one. The first transition was really tight on, quick on the marks, but then one player got lost in the transition for the quick score. This time it was a slower transition where there wasn't quite as much pressure right away from this transition, but there were no deep options open. And I wonder if that was an adjustment that the Buzzbolts made to that amoeba zone. I think they need to find the middle ground in between those two. So Mac Taylor here with the disc to pull. Revolver leading 7-5, looking to take half. So far, very evenly matched game. Only 2 turnovers from the Buzzbolts and 1 from Revolver.
Revolver's coming off of a U.S. Open victory where they really dominated most of their games, and then I remember I didn't watch a lot of that tournament, but I did see that highlight at the end of the tournament. Bo just going up over the Ironside defenders. And that's just really what makes Revolver so dangerous is they're so disciplined, but that release valve of having Kittredge is just it's a luxury.
So again, it looks like Revolver's running a forced backhand, but there's a lot of latitude for the mark to be able to jump over to the open side. Backhand look, and there's Martin Cochran jumping over on Kemi Murrow, but Kemi Murrow able to pull it down. And Buzzbolts works it across their side of the field.
So now it looks like it's switched to a forehand on that far sideline. Still forehand mark.
Oh, and Matsuno unable to come up with the relatively easy layout catch.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of drops here from the Buzzbolts. I mean, this is a tough play, but this is one of the best players in the world. He normally makes that play, and you know, with a stingy team like Revolver, you absolutely have to reel that one in if you want to hang in the game. Let's see. Here's that look from the Buzz Bullets again. Also interesting to note that this is their O-line that's running this zone. We saw this last night. Normally, the O-lines are really just going to stick to a man-to-man defensive set, but Buzz Bullets really have this second option for their O-line.
What's really interesting is this idea that in a lot of cases like this, they have no mark. And I think as a thrower, it can be sometimes disconcerting to have no mark and no stall count.
Totally.
But Revolver being very patient here.
And that cut right there that we saw from Revolver is really how to take advantage of it. When there's no mark, you can really just slide in from behind and get some easy yards and a new stall count. You can see on Mac Taylor's forehand side, there's really no one in there. If you've got a handler behind there, you can really just attack up the field and gain yards and keep the disc in the middle of the field.
Oh, Taylor with a nice round break on the goal line here for Patrick Bayless. Bayless looking to Gilligan, up line. Not there.
So Revolver's end zone set, most teams run vertical, but they've been running a 3 across the back as set this year. As you can see, they're quite spread out. You can see them sort of bunching up in the back of the end zone now. But that's something that I saw the Dogfish running in the MLU, which makes sense maybe because of the wider field. But here, they really just want to keep them in the back of the end zone to allow one isolated cutter just like that, all the space to roam.
So Cuoco with the lefty backhand break to Mac Taylor. Takes us to half with another Revolver break, and they are up 8-5 on the Buzz Bullets.
Yeah, really just a clean half here for Revolver. I didn't see anything that really surprised me. We saw hard man-to-man and, you know, some unforced errors from the Buzz Bullets, and really the story of this first half to me is just Revolver playing a little bit cleaner.
One of the things that I think I found really interesting in the first half here is the marks that we've been talking about. It seems like it's a really dynamic mark. They're not being consistently forcing forehand or backhand. They're switching and I think that's disrupting some of these breaks that we expect from the Buzz Bullets.
So 8-5 for the first half. We will be back for more action in the second half. West Coast Cup, Seattle, Washington. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Welcome back to Seattle, Washington, and Next Gen Network's continued coverage of the West Coast Cup. The West Coast Cup, a Kevin Minderhout creation, kind of coming on the heels of the Next Gen League that was proposed last year. And from what I understand, actually pretty driven by this Revolver squad. I think that they wanted to see a proof of concept of what it would look like. Yeah,
it's a really cool idea. I think it's really sort of opening up the Ultimate World's brain about what playing Ultimate and what watching Ultimate can be all about. I think we've gotten stuck forever in this idea that tournaments are the only way that we can have an Ultimate event. And then on the flip side, we saw the MLU and the pro leagues just having these sort of one-off events. And here we have sort of a hybrid of that where you don't have a ton of games, and the tournament format is actually built around these more showcase events. We're going to have 3 games streamed each day out of, I think, six games total streamed out of 10 games of the entire tournament. I think it's really exciting for the Ultimate community to get to see so much high-level Ultimate. And, taking this amount of teams, there's only 5 teams here.
Well, and I love this. I think it's a great middle ground between the two ends because, 4 games for each one of these teams is still enough to fly to a tournament for. But it's small enough in the setting that you can showcase each one and put it at a high level, put it in a stadium, put a lot of games in stadiums, allow people to come down and watch this really high-level Ultimate in person, as well as stream it for all the fans. And here's a shot from Japan Deep. This one's short and a nice block.
Bayless again got there. I'm sorry, maybe that's not Bayless.
That is Patrick Bayless coming under here. This Deep forehand look, just a little short for Abe. And Bayless finishes off, makes sure that Abe can't pull it down. So Revolver getting another chance for a break here, already up 8-5 in 2 breaks.
See if we see that junky look. You can see just the way all of the defenders are looking around, that it's probably not just a straight man. Revolver set up in a horizontal spread look. Yeah, it's definitely some sort of junk.
So Revolver loses a lot of yards on his first throwback. This looks like a little more handler pressure than what we've seen from their Amoeba so far. Foul called here on the thrower. That's Tim Gilligan being marked by Mizuho Tanaka.
You can see it looks like matchups all over the field, but I wonder if they'll sort of fall back into that space-eating zone matchup man that they've been playing. I don't know what the right word for it is, Kyle. If it's amoeba or if it's junk or if it's zoned, it's the Japan-style defense is what it is to me.
So Canner with the disc. Back to Gilligan. I think this actually looks like a different variation of what they've been running. It seems a little more high pressure and high stall count there for Gilligan. And Buzzbolt's creating a turnover, and Sheba getting it and then throwing the assist. Buzzbolt's holding on their offensive point.
Really just creative defense. On the stop disc, it looked like man. 2 cuts later, it wasn't man. Certainly creating confusion downfield, creating confusion for the handler. Coverage sack leads to the easy hold for the Buzz Bullets. They haven't been able to rattle the O-line yet.
But you made this point last time. Again, this was their offensive line transitioning into a junky defense. You don't see that quite as much in the U.S., where top teams, their O-line is so O-focused that they don't have necessarily a big bag of tricks they pull out on defense. And I think that can be really challenging to a D-line that's so used to working against man offense or man defense.
Go ahead and come up
One of the things that those transitions for that requires is that the turnover is either long and allows them a lot of time to set it up and communicate about it, and that the offense has to work a long way, 50, 60, 70 yards of the field.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and something I'm probably going to tell my Sockeye teammates is that if we get a chance against their O-line when they're playing D, we just need to get that ball moving, not let them set that zone.
Really physical mark here from Sasanabe. On Rasmussen. Nice break around to Kittredge. Wiseman sets up a nice cut, gets it underneath. Break around. Back to Rasmussen all the way. Some switching switching in the handler area. You'll notice this. They put the handler defender who's guarding the first reset back. If they go up line, they let them stay there to get the next reset coming back. Very interesting switch they're doing.
Yeah, it's almost like a double team on a specific cut that they're going for. Revolver, despite that bobble, holds on, and another hold for the Revolver O-line.
So Revolver showing great patience.
Yeah, Schlag doing a nice job milking that one into the end zone. It's another guy, Nick Schlag, who I think is a lot more important to Revolver's offense and their continuity than I think a lot of players might think, or a lot of spectators might think.
Nick Schlag
has known a lot of these guys forever. He played in the Bay. He played for Stanford. He's now a captain of Revolver, and just a really solid, consistent, level-headed guy that you can rely on to always be open for a reset. He's not a big goal scorer. He's not necessarily a hooker, but when it comes to executing a role, Nick Schlag does it as well as anyone.
You know, in talking to Mike Payne before the game, we talked about some of the guys they lost. But his point and what he believes is that this Revolver team is stronger than last year's Revolver team. And I think what we're going to see is a lot of guys who've been playing on the bench or who've been playing mixed or whatnot and have come to this team stepping up and becoming these big name players that we talk about. I think, you know, given their system, given their philosophy of developing full players, of being a very balanced line, we're going to see Revolver make another deep run this October.
Absolutely. You know, and they just consistently build incredible individual players, but what's more impressive to me about Revolver is the buy-in that they get from everyone.
And this time the deep shot up to Abe, and Abe with the easy dish on the goal line. So a quick point to Shiba. Japan still down 2 breaks to Revolver.
Yeah, Matsuno really did a great job just putting that one just out of the reach of the defender, keeping it nice and flat.
Well, I keep slipping into saying Japan. I want to make clear this is the Buzz Bullets. They are a club team out of many club teams in Japan, although they are by far the most well-known.
Most well-known and you know, the best team in Japan. They were the winners of the Dream Cup, which is Japan's home tournament that they put on. Lots of other Japanese teams attend that tournament. There's actually probably a much bigger Japanese Ultimate community that you might think. I don't have any data or stats to back that up, but I do know that it's a really thriving Ultimate community over there. And it was really, really cool to watch. Last year, I got to go to the World Championships, and my favorite game to watch was the U.S. versus Japan women's final. There was a packed house for that game, and when they won it, the entire stadium erupted, and I got to believe that a lot of those were the Ultimate community members from Japan.
So again, Buzz Bullets coming down with a pretty soft zone defense, leaving a lot of handler space open. Another interesting thing about these Buzz Bullets is they're actually sponsored by a company called Bunka Shutter, and 9 of the players on this Buzz Bullets roster are actually employees of Bunka Shutter. And here's a great handler defense from Tanaka, but a call from Ashlyn Joy. Let's take another look at it. Kittredge with the disc.
That looked like a pretty clean DE.
Contested
Joy
foul.
definitely felt the
Ashlyn Joy
contact,
bringing
but it
the
looked
disc
to me
in.
mostly after that disc was spiked to the ground.
Well, Tanaka doesn't contest. I wonder if maybe there was some contact before the actual reception that may have resulted in the call. So here, Buzz Bullets tightening up, transitioning, and Kittredge finding the wide open receiver.
Yeah,
Will
Weissman
Kittredge to
did a nice job
Josh
timing his
Weissman.
cut for Kittredge and just made a nice cut to that back
Revolver
cone.
10,
Kittredge put it in the right spot.
Japan 7. Go ahead and grab those tickets again.
Again, another easy goal for Revolver
You're
out
here
of the
early. Your chances
transition.
to win are
Great patience and vision from
as
Kittredge.
Our only winner so far has won twice. We're going to go ahead and give away a pair of
So Revolver up 10 to
friction
7.
gloves now. So
Maintain that 2-break lead.
frictiongloves.com bringing you
So Revolver has an almost full roster here. They're missing a lot of guys at the U.S. Open. Only 2 guys not playing today in this game. Alexander Brammer, who's currently injured, and Devin Anderson, another big pickup for them and making some big plays on their O-line, who's not here, had some stuff to attend to in the Bay Area.
8140. Go ahead and come to the press box. We'll hook you up with a pair of friction gloves from frictiongloves.com.
You know, Kyle, you mentioned the format of this tournament, and I think one thing that differentiates this is that it really tries to mesh the best of a lot of worlds. It's not just player focused, it's not just viewer focused, but like you said, they create good incentive for a team to come because you get 4 games, but also a good incentive to watch and really high level games, not just for the viewers at home, but also the local viewers here in a really thriving Ultimate community like Seattle.
one of a lot of teams that and matchups that you might not normally get to see in person, right?
Right.
I mean, here we've got San Francisco versus a team from Japan, and we've got teams from Colorado and Oregon here as well. You know, it's like a whole MLU season packed into 2 days,
Right.
plus Japan. So, Buzz Bullets work this one down easy.
And that point right there is really what we saw a point just like that in the first half where it was completely handler oriented with regard to how their offense was driven. And sort of just weave the disc back and forth for those little tiny gainers, but that makes it really hard to mark when the count is always resetting. Here's Matsuno just outside the end zone.
This one going back to Tanaka again. Tanaka marked by Kawoka. Oh, a little push pass over the top.
I love it.
Tanaka assisting to Tanaka. Japan within 2.
Goal scored by Mizuho Tanaka. The assist from Katsunori Tanaka. So again, a 2-point lead for Revolver.
So the Buzz Bullets hanging around here. I really love their offense when it's really handler driven. I think that, you know, not to say that Revolver's handler defense isn't good. I just think that that's one of the areas that the Buzz Bullets have an advantage when they can keep that disc moving, and then they get so many give and goes, and then when you don't throw the give and go but you fake it, that just opens up the break side. Really impressive to watch the Buzz Bullets operate. Unfortunately, you know, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but in that first half they had those just 2 unforced errors, that drop by Matsuno, another drop from a handler, and that's unfortunately you just can't do that in any high-level game of Ultimate if you want to win.
Well, particularly against this Revolver team. I mean, we have not yet seen the Buzz Bullets really put any pressure against this Revolver O-line. I mean, Revolver is they have not had a turn yet on their O-line. 8 possessions, 8 points. Buzz Bullets take a timeout. We'll take a timeout too, and we'll be back to you in a few seconds. Welcome back out of the Buzz Bullets timeout here in the second half of the Buzz Bullets vs. Revolver, the West Coast Cup action. Matsuno with the pull, Revolver O-line on the field.
I like that timeout by the Buzz Bullets. Has been trading so far in the second half just to maybe disrupt the flow. Call that timeout. Give that O-line a rest. Maybe brings over some of your best players and put them on this D-line to try to catch one.
Hammer over the top to Jordan Jeffrey. Buzz Bullets transitioning again out of their junk defense. Good patience from Revolver. And Schlag finding the outlet pass there across the field to Rasmussen for the goal. And again, Revolver working easily through the Buzz Bullets junk, up 11-8.
Yeah, that one I just saw the Buzz Bullets in their end zone offense. The 4 guys around the disc were just staring at Schlag, which means that as a cutter, all you have to do is just get to a place where you're not directly behind one. The thrower is going to see that. Throwing to a standing cutter, it's no big deal at this level. Just zip it as fast as you can, hit that window, and you're gonna beat those defenders.
So Revolver rolling here. Now, Mario, how is Sakai approaching this tournament? I mean, there's no tournament champion here. 4 games. Obviously, it's regular season. It does count towards your rankings. What's your mentality? And what are your goals here?
All of the leadership, multiple times in practice this week, this morning. We're looking towards the end of the season already. We're saying this tournament is a stepping stone. Of course, you know, as athletes, we want to compete and we want to win, but we're really focused on all the little things that we know are going to be important in order to win those games when the time comes at the end of the season. We talked a little bit saying, you know, this game does count towards rankings, but we're really just focused on becoming the best Ultimate team that we can. We're focusing on the things that we've been doing in practice. We're not changing anything up. We're just focusing on our short-term goals that are connected to our long-term goals, and just trying to really play hard every single game.
Let's go.
So Mac Taylor with the out-of-bounds pull.
And pulled out of bounds.
With each passing point here, the pressure on this Buzzbolts offensive line increases in pressure because they're going to have to hold and give those defensive opportunities to get breaks.
Here we see it. The handler sagging just a little bit for Revolver.
Great bid by Russell Wynn there, but over his head, and Kichikawa with the goal. Buzzbolts with the one-shot point.
Yeah, that was a handler that streaked downfield.
I got another next-gen disc,
And just a beautiful throw. Russell Wynn got big on that bid.
Yeah, pretty explosive there, but just past the fingertips. Super close.
8-1-3-8. Go ahead and see us in the press box.
So back to a
We'll hook
2-point
you up
lead
with
for
the
Revolver.
Next-gen disc, courtesy of Discraft.
You know, and I think getting back to our focus for Sockeye, looking at this tournament, I think, you know, we're really, not only are we building towards the end of the season and staying focused on those things, but also we know that 2 weeks later we've got a tournament that has bigger implications for things like seeding, and that's that Labor Day tournament, which features the top 8 teams in the nation, which is also going to be really, really exciting. And I think, you know, with the whole new system with the Triple Crown Tour, I think that's a really unique event that hasn't ever really existed, and I'm really excited to play in it.
Revolver on O, Kittredge underneath. This time looks like a little more traditional man-to-man defense from the Buzzbolts, and a shot deep from Kittredge. And Rasmussen able to seal off the defender. Wiseman. Oh, and the first O-line turnover there. Cusano from the Buzzbolts getting the block.
Wiseman had a little bit of tunnel vision towards the end zone. He had actually had a reset available.
Buzzbolts working down the field, lots of contact. Furicado with the disc. The break around. Furuzawa in the inside. Furicado and the shot to the goal and the wide open receiver. So Buzzbolts with their first opportunity for a break, and they punch it in. Closing the Revolver lead to 11-10.
Yeah, really nice job sort of doing just the things that we've been talking about. They went all the way one direction with their handlers. They swing, they hit that inside break on a backhand that opens up the forehand. Really great D-line offense from the Buzzbolts.
And Cusano with both the block and the goal in the end there. A little bit of double happiness.
Yeah, and this is that time in the game that it's really an advantage to have someone like Mike Payne on the sideline. If you're Revolver, I'm positive that he's going to remind his team that we can't just settle in. Even though we're trading points, even though we got a 2 or 3 point lead, we absolutely have to stay hungry at the end of this third quarter of the game and going into the fourth quarter, because both these teams are so skilled that either team can go multiple offensive possessions in a row without a turnover, and you can't allow a run at this point in the game, allowing the team to get back in the game.
So after that man-to-man defense, it'll be interesting to see what Buzzbolts pulls out this time. For Ozawa with the pull.
And we see Matsuno charging down against the handlers. We've seen him in the backfield more when it's been that zone.
A little bit of poaching off the handlers, but definitely man-to-man. Buzzbolt's showing a lot of awareness of where other players are. As soon as their receiver's not looking, they're staying in the lane for that extra second, see if they can get a shot. We see that little handler switch. Revolver able to work it to Rasmussen. Up to Kittredge at midfield. And Kittredge taking a shot.
This is another beautiful throw from Bo.
He has been on fire. That is Josh Wiseman with the goal. And so the Revolver O-line able to hold.
Yeah, that double
Oh,
team or that
Kittredge with the
switch
hawk
that we've been
to Josh
seeing
Wiseman.
from Buzz has been when the disc gets over to the flat mark side, then you see what looks like a face guard from that handler's defender is actually just letting him blow up line, and then he's hanging out in the backfield for any other cutter that wants to come into that area, because that cutter, when they go up line, they're actually just going behind the mark, so there's a lot of trust in the mark that they're going to do their job. Revolver's done a nice job handling that pressure so far this game.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's creating a lot of pressure for Revolver. I think that they're aware of that, and they're flaring that second reset cut out wide, and so that thrower is able to just put it out to space around that poaching defender.
Matsuno has been in the majority of the points. You can see in middle of your screen, number 10.
And again, I think that's one of the benefits here of this format, right? You only have 4 games, 2 games a day. You can put your stars on the field a little more.
Absolutely, and that's, as a team, that's what we want. We want to be able to, have it be less of an endurance sport and more of a sprinter sport and more of a skill sport, and that's playing less games in a day allows you to do that. And we, as players, we love to have all highly contested, highly skilled opponents.
Nice little inside break again. The quick movement outside after the inside break. Another inside break. Revolver looks mostly forced backhand here. And there's a switch on the mark. And that opens up a shot to Matsuno, and Matsuno comes down with a nice one.
That was just beautiful offense from the Buzz Bullets, doing exactly what they practice. Those inside breaks are always seem to be to handler cuts where the handler will start a little bit behind that sort of horizontal line between him and the disc, and the communication, the timing is just flawless between those two players, and they're getting tons of positive yardage. And that time it actually opened up once again that forehand. Missed a little bit on the forehand, but fortunately Matsuno was on the other end.
That catch that Matsuno made looked like 10 times harder than the one he missed earlier in the game that is now the difference maker in this game.
We got a pair of Patagonia field shorts for you.
So Buzzbolts with another opportunity for a break. They've gotten one already this half. They're down 12-11. We've been mixing up those defensive sets. Some of them are saggy and loose. Some of them are pretty tight, and tight in different ways.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that any of their defensives have been sort of more successful than others. They've been getting sort of equal chances on lots of their defensive looks. Here it's more of a man look.
That was a high stall count out. Wiseman now taking a shot to Rasmussen. Just lays it out there. Oh, and this one sails above the head of the receiver, and Bo saving Revolver on this one.
Kittredge, children's author and trash collector.
That was a great catch by Bo Kittredge. Good awareness, too. I mean, as soon as he saw that one was going to go over the head of Rasmussen, he made the move and took off and extended in front of the Japanese defender. I don't think that Kichikawa knew that Kittredge was even there. It looked like he was moving there very casually, but Kittredge made up a lot of yards. You can even see the amusement, or bemusement, on Kichikawa's face. So Revolver 2 points away here on the Buzz Bowl. It's 13-11. Mike Payne telling the troops to keep it cool.
Mike Payne is back coaching Revolver. He's one of the founding members of this Revolver team, not only as a player, but also was very instrumental in sort of building the foundation for what is the program of Revolver in terms of creating and designing the mission, what the goals of the team are, things like that. Really exciting to see him back on the sidelines for Revolver. Unfortunately, Coach Dutchy, I think he moved across the country and he's actually coaching a women's team, coaching Scandal this year.
And Scandal having some fantastic results so far this season. Definitely one of the up-and-coming teams. And Buzz Bulls take a shot. Lots of space.
Beautiful throw by Matsuno.
Kimimura with the disc. And the dish into Shiba for the goal. Buzz Bolts offense holds again.
One of the things I love about Matsuno is that he is a relentless competitor, but when they score, he's also got the biggest smile on the whole team. He's just really a joy to watch.
You know, Mara, this has quietly been a fantastic game. I believe we've had 5 turnovers so far in this game so far. One break, the difference between these two teams.
Yeah, not necessarily a lot of drama, but just really awesome execution from both teams. Yeah, I think that sometimes, you know, I've played against Buzz a number of times, and you can always expect them, to run their systems well. And when you're beating them, I think it's maybe not because, you're putting a ton of pressure on them. I think a lot of times it's just these slight execution errors, like we talked about a couple of those drops, but they're such a well-oiled machine when it comes to their offense. They're really cohesive as a defensive unit. I just really love watching them playing against them. Really a standout program worldwide.
And if you have an opportunity, I really recommend taking an opportunity to watch the World Games footage, especially the Japan-US game. I thought that was the team that put the most pressure on that U.S. World Games team. And it's really beautiful to watch their offensive principles put into motion. Japan had a lead going in the second half, and it was a super exciting game. They actually almost had the opportunity to go up 8-6, I believe, before the U.S. came back and got a handful of breaks to win 13-10. But it was a really beautiful game of Ultimate. So Revolver here, offensive line, up 13-12. Schlag. Kittredge juking, getting several yards open. Hammer over the top, but that one fades away. That throw not in Bo's wheelhouse. And so now an opportunity for a break from the Buzz Bulls to put this game back on serve and tie it up late. And a deep shot with too much edge from Sasanabe. Had an open receiver.
I think this is just our second 2-turnover point of the afternoon. First one was also, was the Buzz Bullets.
So Revolver really getting a gift here. Rasmussen to Wiseman.
Classic set play off of a turnover from Revolver. They'll usually stack a couple guys over there. First guy just clears out. They hit the other guy underneath.
Revolver doing a good job moving east-west here. Making it hard for the defense to get set. Kittredge with yards. Slog to Wiseman. The Buzz Bulls defenders really all over the place there for a second. There were like 4 guys within a few steps of Wiseman.
Here we see Kittredge getting involved near the end zone. And another block. Kittredge's second throwing turnover of the point. Yeah, good timeout here from Buzz.
Great timeout here. And again, Kittredge with the error. It looked like the defender there for Buzzbolt's off several steps, and Kittredge just either didn't see him or the throw just came off a little funny. That was Furuzawa with the block. And then Sasanabe finishing off right there in front of Schlag. Great D from both players. Seemed like up until that point the Revolver offense was moving pretty smoothly. They had a lot of wide open receivers. They were hitting them.
Yeah, I don't think a lot really changed for them except for, one tough situation. The Buzzbills did a good job over on that sideline of putting that trap mark on, really locking down in the lanes and forcing that hammer by Bo. And here just a nice heads-up mark by the Buzz defender. And I really like that, a lot of times against a taller defender, a lot of times if you get in too close, it's really easy for them to step around. Bo's not necessarily known for breaking the mark quite a bit early in the stall count. The defender, by taking a few steps off, was able to anticipate that throw and get his hand in the way.
So the Buzz Bullets here. Second opportunity at this point for a break.
No Matsuno on the field for the Buzz Bullets.
Looks like they're setting up a straight horizontal setup.
Defense downfield. Canner's poaching from the rail on the near side. With the disc on the far side, he's looking to help on that deep defender.
High stall count. Finds the outlet.
The cutting style of the Buzz Bullets is another one of the things that I think makes them unique. They're not the type of guys that are going to try to get you out in the lane and get you to commit your hips. A lot of times their deep cuts are just sort of an explosion. They'll go from a jog to just a quick explosion. Their timing is so good with their throwers that they can usually hit that. Their underneath cuts a lot of time tend to be a little more horizontal, and that's how they get those break throws off.
There's that inside break to the outside outlet. Furuzawa with the disc. Tanaka around, back to Furuzawa.
Great pressure here from the Revolver defenders.
The downfield is really tight, and here's a shot going up. Wide open receiver.
And that's what that throw and go does for you. You start moving it one way, and then instead of throwing it, you fake it. The mark bites, because if he doesn't bite and he throws it, you're going to get beat up line, and that opens up that around forehand. Excellent execution by the Buzz Bullets. Again.
Well, it looks like Jordan Jeffries just got kind of lost there. He had his back turned to Sasanabe and was following the disc and not his man at all, and able to put that one right out to space for Sasanabe. An easy goal, tying it up 13-13. So we are back on serve late in this game.
And I love the fundamentals of knowing that if you throw a fake one way, immediately getting the disc ready to throw on the other side of your body. Like I can't tell you how many teammates I've had in the past, and also how many people I've watched throw a fake, like throw a forehand fake, and then just sit on their forehand immediately afterwards. The whole point of throwing a fake is to move your mark. Really got to throw that forehand fake and then immediately step over and be ready to throw that backhand around.
Well, and Japan is so systematic about that, and they have that all the way up and down the lineup. It allows all the receivers to time their cuts because they know exactly when that's coming. They can time it off the forehand fake to move to that backhand cut. So pressure now on the Revolver offense. Nice bid. Kittredge comes down with it. Furuzawa on the mark. Foul called on the mark here. Not contested. Buzzbolts in a what looks like a pretty tight man defense. It looks like they moved away from that junky amoeba zone. Stall count coming in at 0. Nathan White out to Rasmussen. Boucher. Kitchers with a good open look right down the sideline. And towing the line is Josh Wiseman, 14-13.
Wow.
14-13
And
lead.
Bo, despite having 2 pretty brutal turnovers recently, still has the confidence to fit it into that tight window. And there was not a lot of room for error on that throw to Wiseman.
Yeah, that was right down the line. You know, if he throws that one a little more inside, it looks like the defender Furuzawa might have a shot at it too. So I'm not sure if he could have put that one anywhere else. But that was a risky throw here at this juncture in the game.
14-13, games are to 15. But if Buzz Bullets score this one, it would be win by 2. Cap is not on yet. Rounds are just under 2 hours long. We've got games starting at 3, 5, and 7 tonight.
Another beauty of this format is that we're not seeing, you know, hard cap games at 13-12, 13-11. You know, we're going to be able to watch this game play out. We still have 21 minutes till cap, and it's 14-13. That's also a benefit of this being a pretty low turnover game, not very contentious. They've been resolving their calls very quickly. So we're going to be able to see this one get all the way to its natural end.
Matsuno's back out for the Buzz Bullets on the O-line. Starting out downfield. He's making that first deep cut.
Here's Matsuno with space and a shot deep. Lays that one out perfectly to Kamimura. Kamimura pulls down another goal, and we're tied up at 14s and going into overtime.
And that's really where the Buzz Bullets love to shoot. They love to shoot to the corners of those end zones, and just wonderful timing. You know, Russell Wynn,
Either team is going to have to get to 16 in order to win this one.
a very athletic and intelligent defender, just did everything he could, but it wasn't enough because of the beautiful throw by Matsuno. I really got to give the momentum edge here to the Buzz Bullets. They've been playing really great defense here in the second half. We've seen less of that, the poachy zone amoeba look. We've seen more tight man-to-man. It's forced more, you know, turnover-prone situations here for Revolver, and it's paying off. And their offense, we haven't seen an unforced turnover this half. And here they are. They're knotted up at 14.
Now, we talked about in the first half, there were, you know, the Buzz Bolts had a couple of little mistakes that made the difference in the game. They have tightened down their offensive looks. They're 100% almost on their throws in this half. 1 turnover this half, and then gained that one back for the break. And here's a deep shot. Looks like a turnover. No foul call on the throw. And so now Buzz Bolts opportunity to take their first lead of the game here in overtime. Tanaka with the around for Ozawa.
That was Nathan White with that turnover for Revolver. I don't know if that's the type of throw that he normally makes for this offense, and especially at this time in the game.
Well, I'm surprised there was no foul call. It looked like there was a lot of contact as he was releasing that disc. He kind of fell backwards a bit.
Well, there we see that inside throw. Luckily, no defender in the area.
And another one right on the goal line is Shiba. And the fake. Oh, and the drop in the end zone. Buzzbolts giving this one back. And that is a costly turnover.
That is a killer turnover.
So Rasmussen taking a shot, has 2 receivers. Ashlyn Joy to Josh Wiseman.
Ashlyn Joy finding.
And Revolver takes advantage of that costly drop to punch it in
Iceman
15-14.
Revolver
Cassidy
15.
Rasmussen, I think earlier in his career, known more of a downfield threat, but we've seen him in the last couple of years really develop as a thrower, develop the confidence to pick up the disc on a turnover, to be involved in that handler set. And I think it's really just made him not only a more well-rounded player, but now he's just a threat anywhere on the field. He's a tough mark, really fast, and if he's got throws as well, just another credit to the Revolver program for developing its players.
One thing that Mike Payne did mention as well before the games, he said all of our players are in their 20s, and there's still a lot of room for improvement. They're doing a lot of work on throwing mechanics, and I think that's one thing that you see across that Revolver team is, as you mentioned with Rasmussen, this incremental improvement year to year of their throwing ability, to the point where they're become very versatile players. They take great athletes who have great mechanics cutting, give them great mechanics throwing, and allow them to be these all-around versatile players. And it gives so much dynamicness to the Revolver offense, where everyone can do everything.
Yeah, I think another example of that is Ashlyn Joy. I think a couple years ago, he's more of a hybrid player. You saw him downfield and on the D line a little bit more, if I remember. But now he is just an incredible thrower, great break throws, really long, and he can beat you anywhere on the field as well because he's so athletic.
So Buzzbolt's offense, game point again for Revolver.
Can really see the intensity is picked up here for Revolver on this point too. The marks are a little bit more active. The feet are more active. Always got to know where Matsuno is. This is him striking deep.
And wide open for the goal. Buzzbolts ties it back up again at 15s.
Kamimura to Matsuno.
This time Kamimura on the assist side of the ledger. So we're at game to 17 no matter what at this point. 2 teams locked here at 15s.
See if the Buzz Bullets can capitalize on all the pressure that they've been putting on against Revolver. I got to think that they're not going to throw, that low pressure junk at this point in the game. I really think you got to keep the pressure on because Revolver's feeling it. And I also wouldn't be surprised, to see if they don't score. Regardless of this next point, the result, I think we're going to see Matsuno in for every point for the rest of the game.
And Furuzawa here with the pull, I expect him to be on every point as well. He's doing a lot on both sides of the disc, marking up against really tough matchups like Bo. Bo isolated in the lane, easy yards. Up to Wiseman. High stall count. Easy reset. Back to Wiseman in the middle. Jordan Jeffrey. And Jeffrey finds a streaking across the field Bo Kittredge to bring it to 16-15 here.
Really saw every element of the offense that you really trained for. You saw the set play get you your first 2 continues, and nothing happened after that. You look to your reset offense. You get a swing across the field, sort of move to phase B of your offense, You sort of reset, respace yourself. We see 2 more cutter-to-cutter continuation passes, and you get Kittredge running out of the backfield. Nice offense there by Revolver.
Yeah, in general, just great spacing too. So every one of those downfield cutters, they could drive deep. If they could go deep, they would take it. If not, they would come underneath, and then you'd still have another option before you had to go to the reset. And it looked like Revolver very systematically knew when to look at the reset. The timing was great. The resets were wide open.
Well, it also goes to their fundamentals of where they set up their cuts. You said that, you mentioned that their timing looked good and they had that opportunity for the deep cut. Their set play, it looked like half the guys on the team were sort of just walking out to that far side of the field. And what the key part of that is that everyone was even with the disc or almost no more than 5 to 10 yards in front of it. What that means is anyone coming out of the stack is going to be starting their cut with a deep cut. If you're always starting with a deep cut, it's a really threatening position to be in, and it's going to allow you that space to come underneath. A lot of times, anytime you can start your cut with a deep cut, it's going to make you really available for any type of cut. And with all the great throwers on Revolver, everyone can hit every option that you might cut for.
And you got to particularly love this late juncture in the game where that everyone is playing good fundamental team ultimate as opposed to trying to win it all themselves with their throws or with their cuts, just occupying too much space. So now Japan with the disc, and here's a great bid from Kawoka. Kawoka with the block.
Kawoka with the D.
And that was a miscue on that throw. The throw came out a little bit inside. Kawoka did the dirty work, was close enough. You're going to see this one come off a little more inside than he intended, but Kawoka was up to the task. Nice layout block at this point in the game. So Revolver a chance to close it out.
First possession for the win, Mac Taylor. Nice movement from Revolver. They got an inside break and then that outside outlet. Mac Taylor near the goal line. Hard mark from Buzz Bullets, and the easy out to Patrick Bayless for the win. Revolver takes it 17-15.
And we saw it just like in the first half, just a slight miscue from the Buzz Bullets is going to give a team like Revolver all it needs to come away. Despite a hugging mark against Mac Taylor, Bayless streaks across the front of the end zone. Nice win here for Revolver.
And this was a fantastic high-level game. I mean, 17-15, very few turnovers. But within that, I mean, like you said, this throw kind of behind the receiver here, giving Kawoka the opportunity to drop in the end zone here that would have given Buzz Bullets an opportunity to take the lead late in the game. Just a couple of little miscues there. But that's what it comes down to in games like this. When you're playing at such a high level, it's whether you can be, 99.9% with your catches versus 99.8.
And I want to make a plug for the coaches listening as well. As much as you can practice strategy, as much as you can talk about team dynamics, there's no replacement for great fundamentals. That comes down to throwing, that comes down to catching. And I'm not just saying catching as you're playing catch. You really got to bring up that intensity in practice. You gotta create high intensity situations when you're practicing, because even games at the highest level, and I'm sure a lot of the games at all levels, come down to those fundamentals of just throws and catches.
Well, I got to ask you, Mario, I mentioned that Mike Payne was talking about all of the work that Revolver does on throwing fundamentals and just throwing and catching. Does Sakai have that same kind of commitment to that, or how much time are you spending early in the season on those fundamentals?
Yeah, I can speak to that on a couple levels. From Sakai's standpoint, throwing is something that takes place more outside of practice, and that is because from the leadership standpoint, you really value all of your team time in terms of learning the strategies, learning how to be a team. But I can also look back on my years captaining Rhino the past 4 years, and as a member of that team for the past 5. Every practice we did focus throwing, and so to each his own. But there's lots of ways to be successful. But to me, you're never wrong spending some time every practice, working on the most very basic of fundamentals. That's throws and high pressure situation catching.
Hey, so one thing I want to put out there to all those folks who are watching and have purchased this coverage from Next Gen Network. If you've made this purchase, you also get 25% off your entire order from the Next Gen Ultimate store. Go to store.nextgenultimate.com. and the code is WCC25OFF. Well, Mario, we got 5 more games this weekend. We will be taking a break now and come back to us at 5 p.m. For continuing coverage here of the West Coast Cup on Next Gen Network.
Yeah, tonight we've got Bravo taking on Rhino in our next matchup, and then later on my team, Sockeye, is going to take on these Buzz Bullets. An exciting evening of Ultimate. I'm excited.
Well, for Mario O'Brien, I'm Kyle Weisbrod, and join us at 5 o'clock Pacific time for Rhino versus Johnny Bravo.